Oh. Whoa, hey, okay. Welcome everybody. Back with another live stream. I did a little one last week, which I made a bit of a mess of by not actually understanding the live chat, top chat thing. So I think people were messaging me and I didn't really understand what was going on. Anyway, I managed to put a little message out earlier to say I was doing one today. Hey, TMO. Hey, man. Hope you're doing good. I've been super busy this month. My God, I was in Dublin doing a thing there, and then I was back doing a 3-day primal group here at the centre, then a 2-day bioenergetics workshop. And yeah, stick your question out, man. I'm just going to babble for a little bit about what I was doing, and then I will give it my full attention. Then I've just been co-leading 7 days, 7-day total life change therapy intensive. And then I'm moving house in 2 days' time. And then 2 days after that, I'm running Project Man in Brighton. So I've been quite full on this month, really. But I enjoy it, you know. I kind of enjoy it. It's better for me than sitting around on the computer fiddling about with stuff or anything like that. And, you know, it's nice to hold space. It's kind of almost a kind of a sacred occupation in some ways. Just holding space for people to go through their process, to unload their stuff, and to become deeper, you know, more aware human beings. Anyway, man, Timo, you just put your question out, man. Really, totally cool. I'll just talk anyway. And once you got your question out there, I will answer it. No worries. And yeah, I'm going to try and now that I'm moving down to Brighton, I'm going to be there for more of a week. I'm going to try and step up a little bit on the promotional and marketing front, and also run a little bit more stuff. It's a bit more maybe male side kind of stuff, you know, starting with this Project Man at the weekend, which I'm very excited about. Got a nice group of people signed up for that, and a few more people probably taking the last places that are there. And I'm looking forward to that. Just chance to start to work a bit more with the male side and get some good bioenergetics going there. So I'm excited by that. My buddy Dinesh is going to assist. He's just decided that, so that's going to be nice. And yeah, just look forward to having a good weekend. And after that, things get a bit more slack for me. I'm not quite so busy. So I'll spend a bit more time in Brighton, getting acclimatized to my new flat and developing some ideas that I want to put out. I'm also looking at doing a women's group, women say no, or something like this, for women who want to really, you know, empower their no, because I think this is also missing in society. When I see the whole drama with you know, the hashtag Me Too movement and stuff like that, which is, I'm not against in any way, but the bottom line is that the society has trained women to be a bit too submissive and not to really feel their no from their belly. So I'm planning to start to introduce some workshops looking at that with women's staff. I'll run them, but and doing that kind of thing. Hey Mertza, nice to see you back. Yeah. And yeah, I got a few visions and plans, and trying to kind of inveigle my girlfriend into doing a bit of marketing if she fancies that, and hopefully we make a bit of money so she can get paid. But I do feel like, you know, there's maybe more so now than for a long time. There's a growing awareness in people. It's just starting that, you know, working with the body with these kind of therapies, you know, it's not a quick fix approach, but it does provide lasting results over time. And, you know, I'm a little bit hopeful. I tried to get a project together about a year ago, which didn't come together, to start to treat people with clinical depression and anxiety with these techniques, a kind of a pilot study, but that fell apart, well, for various reasons. But, you know, it's stuff like that, you know, kind of breakthrough kind of ideas. Also, you know, creating some men's work that's a little bit, it's different from the other stuff that guys have got open to, you know, more body work focused and real male energy focused, you know, getting the belly, firing some energy up into the men. Because I think young men in particular are really underserved by the society they're brought up in, and there's very little for them. Anyway, guys, if you've got a question, feel free to put it out. I've just been doing another live stream on my other channel, so I have to have my brain in. I've got my brain in therapy mode now, and bioenergetics mode. I'm still on, people often ask me, what am I doing in my own daily practice? And I'm still doing this somatic breathing bow and arch. I now, the mornings, I'm normally doing like 14 minutes down. So 2 minutes on each somatic center, 14 down in the arch, and then 14 back in the bow, and then 14 down in the arch. And that's already over 40 minutes. So then I do a little bit of sitting at the end of that. And that's really, it's powerful. It's going in layers of my body that I haven't been in before, and it's very good for me. It's chilling me out a bit more on some level, because since about 20 years ago, I had a bit of an energy experience, well, nearly 30 years ago now, a kind of Kundalini thing or something like that. I've always had a lot of energy, but it's not always as grounded as it could be, and so this daily bow and arch thing is really grounding me a bit more, and clearing up some old anxieties and stuff that was held in the backs of my legs and my lower back. And I'm also adding a bit of cold training in as well, which is mad. But somatic bow and arch outside in 2 degrees temperature, it's full on. It's full on. But once you get into it, you really get into it. I really get into it. Once I get into it, once I stop mind fucking about it and start doing it, it's very, very powerful. And I feel all these techniques, they pull you deep inside yourself. And then, I come back in the warm and I have to warm up. And, there's a phase of transition to getting used to kind of normal temperatures, or 15 degrees at least, as opposed to 0. But the cold, I'm realizing the cold and pain are 2 of my greatest teachers. There's so much there. Okay. Tim, I've got a question. I've seen you're challenging me. Yeah. My question is, when I do the exercise and I stop breathing for a longer time, is that a sign but it's too much? And you stop breathing. So you're doing the exercise like one of these kind of stretch your arms crucifix pose, and you stop breathing for a bit. Yeah, well, you shouldn't stop breathing, basically. Try and keep breathing as much as you can. If you're stopping the breathing, it's probably a kind of clench reflex, to try and survive till the end. But that isn't really what it's about. That's not what bioenergetics is about, particularly this school. It's really about breathing and feeling. So if you need to clench to survive, then it's better to go back and do a shorter one, and build it up slowly until you can stick with the whole thing and breathe your way through it. This is very important. And it's sometimes tough, particularly for the more male guys, because we like a challenge, and then we think, we've got to just fight our way to the end. And a little bit of that mental attitude is good, but with one major change, you've got to breathe and feel. You can't just clench. So, that's important to realize. A big part of it is breathing and feeling. And that's the most part of it. You got to get the posture correct, and then you breathe and feel. If you're not breathing and feeling your body, you'll get a little bit out of it, but nowhere near as much as if you really allow yourself to open, really allow yourself to breathe and feel. Hi Dev, I'm coming down to watching Brighton this weekend. Just want to ask if bioenergetic exercise can be extra challenging. It's no problem being a little bit fat and overweight, man. No problem at all. Okay. I always feel into the group, meet the people. Maybe you filled in, there's an online form I'll have emailed you. Let me know, or send me a little private message if you didn't get it, but a link to an online form where I take a little bit of details from the participants. And, then I base the group on where people are at, so it's not like you're coming into the group and Sergeant Major Dev is here just pushing you unrelentingly for 2 days. That's not what it is. I feel into the people where they're at and what is a realistic challenge for them with the bioenergetics and stepping up. And it won't be all full on bio. 2 days of full on bio will be a lot for anyone. So, it'll be other therapeutic stuff and a little bit of theory about bioenergetics and questions and that kind of thing. And it'll be a great weekend. And also looking to hang out on Saturday night with those of you who want to go for a drink and a meal afterwards. But be great to meet you, man. Be great to meet you. And don't worry. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Because I work as a therapist most of the time and workshop leader, I'm not like a fitness instructor. I have not to run fitness instructors down, but it is possible in that field that they go in a bit too hard or a bit too driven. By no means all, but my background is care, so that's the primary thing for me. And then once we've got the care, yes, we take you to a realistic challenge so you can go beyond. It'll be okay, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, man. Tim, okay, no worries. Hi, Dev. When I do the mouth exercises, I keep gagging. I gag on most of the breathing exercises. Mouth exercise, you mean like mouth stretches and stuff like that? Or just if you could give me a little bit more information about the which mouth exercises you're talking about. But gagging is okay, basically gag reflex is okay. I've never done a gag reflex video. Most people know what a gag is. I could do a gag reflex video sometime. But, the gag reflex, in my opinion, is one of the most underused and underappreciated tools in bioenergetics or in body work in general, because the reality is that pretty much everyone in our culture has got a blocked throat, if not physically, then energetically. There's this holding in, coming from the culture, coming from the parents, not allowing you to just fucking be, we learn to hold the throat. And the gag reflex over time will start to clear that. Particularly good in the morning, particularly good if you get insomnia, but you could give me a little more detail. But generally, gagging is okay, actually. It is actually the throat opening and clearing. I still have these weird burps that come out at inappropriate times, and I kind of just let them out most of the time. But it is the throat opening and clearing, and it takes a while. It takes a while. Generally when you gag, you should feel a bit more relaxed or open afterwards. If there's a good gag and you kind of feel like a little bit of tension in the throat has gone. So check that out, Nick. But I incorporate bioenergetics in my work. It's great, man. Some intense emotions come up during my sessions, like push-ups. I do a arch and release it, so like a mix gives me energy. Sounds great, man. Hey, sounds great. When I do gym stuff, and I'll be doing more when I get down to Brighton, you get down the gym a bit, but a few times a week. Bow and arch is great at the end of the gym as well, I find, just to stop any bits of extra tension that I've kind of got into me. Sounds good, man. I think there's a big, potential future for bio in workouts. But the trouble is, a lot of guys that go to the gym, men and women, I mean by guys, all they want to do is just pump it and get a little endorphin rush or dopamine rush and stuff like that, which is okay. But you can also incorporate bioenergetics to open up yourself emotionally. And that concept hasn't really come up into a mainstream culture quite yet. But who knows? Maybe it will do soon. Certainly, a lot of guys that I get it all the time. People in the gym all the time, and they come to my classes and they're fucked because just being in the gym might get you fit on a certain level, but there can still be a lot of rigidity or a lot of holding in the body somewhere. It's kind of curious. It's curious. Even people who do yoga every day for 10 years and their bodies are flexible as fuck, more flexible than me, but still there's this holding. They can't really engage and let go from the bodily level, It's quite bizarre. I don't have a full understanding of why it is, but I see it all the time. Nick, all mouth stretching exercises. Well, like I said, I think the gag reflex is okay. You can even stimulate the gag yourself. The only time to be careful with gag reflex stuff is when, if someone has a history of eating disorders or something like that, you've got to be a little bit careful, check with a specialist or something in case the old things get triggered, the old scenarios get triggered. Otherwise, I think gag reflex is awesome. Make sure you clean your fingers before you put them down your throat. Anton, I've had scoliosis since I was very young. Okay, it's like, yes, S-curve and a bit of kyphosis. Does this mean something in the bioenergetic perspective, and can it be fixed? I've had a few people with scoliosis, had ex-girlfriend with scoliosis years ago, and I've never heard anyone in bioenergetics pronounce a cure for it. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, I haven't been in bioenergetics for decades. I've been in therapy for a long while, but I haven't, you could check with other people around, but I've not heard of that. I mean, I think generally with scoliosis, it's probably understood as being more genetic. And generally, when something's got some level of emotional component, then it's more likely that bioenergetics, or psychosomatic component, I should probably say, but bioenergetics could treat it, So I've not heard anyone do that. Off the top of my head, you can start to work with the bow and arch, and you may get a correction over time, making sure you're really breathing and feeling your way into it. As I said to the chap earlier, you've got to breathe and feel your way through it. And that's a big, big important thing. But you could give that a try. And when I say give it a try, that means do it, for a month. At least do it for a month, Learn the positions properly. You can look on my YouTube channel for the bow and arch masterclass and start with a length of time that isn't too uncomfortable for you, and then build up, Okay, man. Thanks for the question, Anton. Hi, Dev. I've got a question in my mind. Whenever I do circular breathing, at some point, every time I breathe out, my abdomen moves my upper body moves pretty forward. Whenever I do circular breathing, you mean lying down like in rebirthing? Or my abdomen belly contracts naturally, my upper body moves pretty forward. Moves pretty forward. I don't quite understand a bit about the upper body. And you get it, is it good? Have the same reaction? I'm not sure, I might have to, don't want to watch you having an orgasm, but I might have to watch you doing the breathing. I mean, does it feel good? That's always a good question to ask yourself. Presumably the orgasm feels good, but just let me know of the circular breathing. I mean, the thing is, when people talk about belly breathing, and I lead rebirthing. I've been leading it a lot recently, actually, but the reality is it's also a little bit we push for belly out. It's kind of like affording a bit. It feels like that. Yeah, lying down, it feels okay. Yes. So you're doing the circular breathing. You breathe out, your belly goes down. Yeah, your belly, abdomen, and chest should go down. And my upper body moves pretty forward. Could you explain that bit? A bit about the upper body moving pretty forward. That bit I can't quite follow. Anton, no worries, man. No worries. Happy to lend a hand. Yeah, and scoliosis. It would be great if there was really something to treat it. I've not heard of anyone come up with a kind of psychosomatic explanation, but I'm sure if you Googled, psychosomatic scoliosis, you might find some guy somewhere has. Of course, with these things, you've got to look if it sounds really useful or not, because new age therapy and alternative stuff, I mean, there's so many people making so many pronouncements, can be a bit much sometimes. Hi, Dave. Is there any way to join Project Man via Skype? I'm in New Zealand. I'm afraid not. I don't have the setup for it, basically, and I don't know if it would work. It's quite intense group room process work, but it would be nice to have a men's group that we could do by Skype. It's one of the kind of things it would be great to try and check out somewhere. I'm not such a techie with this stuff. And the thing is with, you can go a bit, when you're working with people in the group room, it can go deeper and more intense, basically, because you feed off each other, the group energy and stuff like that. And you get a bit of that, but you also hug, when you've done release exercises, when you've let go of old stuff, it's good to have some level of physical contact, and the group kind of G's each other up. So I don't know how, a kind of group therapeutic process would work via Skype. Skype is great for some things, but yeah. I mean, it certainly would be awesome to be able to do something like that, I know with satsang teachers, they often do a lot of stuff with Skype, but I'm not quite sure how it would work otherwise. Various people have come to me in the last couple of years and suggested different things I could do, to do some stuff online, and people sign up for courses and that, but I haven't really had enough time to get it together, and I suspect I haven't got quite enough kind of followers to make it work. I don't know yet. I don't know. Part of my really on my agenda for 2019 is to get my bioenergetics book done and get that out there, and then on the back of that, start to create like a course, like an online course or something that you can follow, or possibly even be tested in, possibly even get a teacher kind of certificate from. I don't know, something like that. Okay, is there any benefit in using tobacco during bioenergetics? You mean like drinking tobacco liquid or what? I use tobacco a fair bit in some shamanic practices when I was with a guy called Ratu Bagus back in the old days. But I think, it's one of those things you could try. Because tobacco can make you feel quite grounded when you drink liquid tobacco. You just get a pack of good, like natural American Spirit, the one without too much stuff in it. Mix it up in water for 10 minutes, strain the tobacco out, and squeeze the tobacco out, and then drink it. And it comes on in about 20 minutes or so. You can feel you feel different in your body, but often you feel like lying down a bit. I don't know. It might be possible. Certainly, there's a guy in Bali called Ratu Bagus, a famous shaman. And he uses tobacco a lot, and people shake. They do bodily shaking. He used to shake for 9 hours a day in his ashram. I think it's 6 nowadays, but that's quite full on. And he believes in using tobacco, but it lights up the inner body and allows stuff to move more easily, So it's possible, in my opinion. Timo, do you have a video about how to deal with resistance? Yeah, I've written about resistance quite a lot, or rather made videos, One thing you can do is to make resistance physical, you know, such as if you look for a teenager freak out, and I'm going to update that soon, you know, that is something you can do to kind of get into this kind of resistant teenager feeling like, fucking do it. I don't want to fucking do it. And it's a general principle that if you make mental resistance, you know, like the idea, I can't be bothered, I don't want to do it, I don't need to do it today, these kind of thoughts, if you can make them physical, you know, that helps to move something. So it can be that resistance becomes something that moves you further forward. That's a useful thing to remember. Also, you know, with resistance, it's understanding. I made a video called The Book of Resistance. You could look up that. The idea is to understand with resistance your mind's defensive strategies, because often the resistance and the defense comes in precisely at the point you're getting close to really releasing, you know, to the real feeling that's sitting underneath there, or that the change that needs to happen. The resistance comes strongest. It's one of the most, you know, annoying aspects of our neurology and psychology, so to speak. So, you know, recognizing that you're being resistant, becoming an expert on the ways that you yourself avoid, you know, you can use resistance as a signpost to say, aha, I'm getting really fucking resistant now. Maybe I should just do the exercise fully and let's see what happens. And very often at that point, something changes. That in reality is why group therapy is so effective, because it is harder to resist and stay and pull out when you've got the power of a group, peer pressure to stay in, you know. It's a big part of it. It's a big part of it. There's other aspects to group therapy as well, feeding off each other's issues and dramas to stir up feelings. But, you know, resistance, there's a few things about resistance on my YouTube channel, and it's an area I'm really interested in, you know. But that's the reality why it's so hard to make really powerful personal change working on your own. It's just not easy. You have to get your willpower and your self-understanding up first, you know. You have to get those things up first. Good question, Tiemo. I'd like to thank you. Thank you. Maybe one-to-one via Skype could be good. Yeah, sure, man. Do some one-to-ones via Skype, no problem. Just drop me a line sometime, my email address, and we can discuss. It's after bone arch, my leg muscles twitch. Is that a sign of emotion shifting? Well, twitching or spontaneous shaking is generally quite good. Generally quite good. I'd say it sounds pretty good to me. You know, sometimes it can worry the mind a little bit, but a bit of twitching, yeah, is quite normal. Sometimes I get throat release after bone arch, like big burps come out and I feel quite chilled. Certainly if it feels quite blissful, that's a good sign. I would say that's a good sign, Metza. Spontaneous, you know, bodily movement is generally some kind of good sign. It's like a kind of a sign that the tension is just being released in a natural way, you know. Yeah, guys, have a check out if you've got another question. In some ways I'm looking, I don't know, like January's been super busy for me with group after group after group, and then I often think, oh, it'd be great to chill out for a bit, but I do enjoy holding space. So I don't mind really, you know. I think I could go to group after group after group year long, you know, maybe have some holiday here and there. I'm hoping with Project Man and a couple of other things, maybe to get out in Europe a little bit more and, you know, find someone who's up for being an organizer for me and get out there and find a bit of a network and do some stuff. Been quite interested in Ireland recently. We haven't managed to get a centre together. With this chap Brian who wants to organise, but you know, quite a few Irish people coming to my workshops, and you know, they all say, God, there's nothing like this over in Ireland, and it'd be nice to get out there and do some work. So don't feel shy if you've got a question. A little flick back. I don't think I lost it. I don't think I missed any. Oh dear. Yeah, I have been super busy. But the arch position is a pose of confidence, meaning it opening you up for life. With the arch position, it's mostly opening up the lower back and the backs of the legs and the back in general, you know. So it's very good for anxiety in a sense, because you see the lower back and the backs of the legs are the main holding areas in the human body. In bioenergetics, you look at two kind of ways that we control. And one is to kind of hold a lot of unspecified emotions around those areas the back of the body, basically, from the ankles up to the neck. And the other is to contract around certain somatic centers, such as the throat, heart center, or belly, So I would say, in terms of the arch it starts to clear anxiety, which of course, is a way to lead to more confidence. And so it does that. And the bow, it balances that. And when you're back in this bow position, it can also be good to say yes. Sorry, it's the bow position. Yeah, the bow position. Yeah, for sure. Because you stick your chest out, your heart out, try and bring your chest out. And you're also, if you get your arms up really high and pull them back, like rather as though there's cords around your wrists, and you're being pulled up to the ceiling and then back. And that's difficult at first to do. You often need someone on your ass keeping you. But if you can be disciplined to do that, really stretch up, it also opens up these muscles here, which are muscles that get contracted, especially when we're used to keeping our head down and being unconfident, So, doing this stretch, if you're in a place where you can make a bit of sound, start to shout, yes, I can do it, and it gives you a lift as well when you're struggling with the pose, and it also starts to clear stuff. So, they definitely lead to confidence. The thing is, some people come in with an expectation like it's some kind of modern medicine or medical technique, and in one session it's all going to suddenly shift. I know you're not like that. You've been following for a long time, Mirza, but for anyone else that's watching, you've got to commit for a while, and you've got to do it every day, because the day you don't do it, it'll probably be the day when you most need to. And if you're willing to do that over time, the bow and arch will clear anxiety on a very deep level, but you need to stick with it over time. Can bioenergetics help with allergies? Any experience of that? I've not heard of that. No. What it can do in the same kind of field is that it can reduce stress a lot. And some allergies come on more when you're under some level of psychological stress, So it could possibly help like that. But I've not heard of anyone claim that bioenergetics will really treat allergies myself. No. Cheers, Lucas. When I do the bow, I feel discomfort and a strain in my lower back, which prevents me from doing exercise. There's a solution for this. So the bow, you mean when you're back like this, not arching forwards, because sometimes different teachers use the terms differently, which is kind of annoying at times, but I just check these days. So you mean that a strain in my lower back, which prevents me from doing the exercise. Sometimes with people, and I've had this because I had ankle operations when I was a kid and a problem with my Achilles tendons, it can be useful to put your heels up a little bit from your toes, like standing on a book, something like that, a big book or a big magazine or something like that. And, then being in the stretch, and see if that helps. Generally with the discomfort and strain in the lower back, just do it for a level. Try to breathe through it. Try to increase your breathing and breathe through it, but don't overdo it. It's a little bit difficult online to give exact advice without knowing the individual. You can also do an online session with me one-to-one sometime. But, essentially, it's a little bit difficult. But the initial thing is to really get the posture correct when it's a strain and try to breathe through the discomfort, because the reality is, in a certain level, is we're processing stuff. We're processing pain. And you can't necessarily process deep, extreme pain, but we start to get to the outer layers and process. And this is what creates the opening and the release from the muscles in many ways. So there will be discomfort and there will be strain. And the thing is just to either work initially with someone who knows what they're doing, or just really take it easy, but keep going as well. Book a little one-to-one session or something like that. That's the best I can do in this situation, really. Lucas, thanks for your question. So I have to do the bow and arch on a regular basis. Yes, you do. Rest of your life, ideally. It'll make you feel fucking great over time. I'm 58 and it gives me immense amounts of energy all the time, and just clears stuff up after a while, I feel less shame, more self-esteem in general since started doing bio. Like I opened up, I have nothing to hide. It's a slow shift. That's it, man. That's it. At some point, we just feel more okay to be vulnerable, more okay to fuck things up, more okay to be crazy, more okay to be extreme. It's like there's a gradual realization that actually we are okay as we are. And from there, we can really step up, step out and explore. Thanks. So I focused only on bow and arch. What is the next key exercise? I mean, I often work a lot from the belly level. That's kind of something I specialize in, working with guys a lot, but it's also good for women as well. So you can look at the triple opener. You can look at the belly activation exercises. I think they're useful. Other areas I work a lot is around the shoulders. So you can look for arms, you know, different types of arm release that I've got going on and stuff like that on the site. It's all good stuff. You know, I'm hoping sometime this year to get my bio book underway, and then I'll also include some workouts, and maybe sometime in a year's time we'll get to some online training or something where you can sign up and go through a course, you know. When will aliens present themselves to us? I'm not doing non-therapy questions, I'm afraid. What's interesting about alien theories or conspiracy theories is that, like, they show you stuff going on inside someone's mind usually. When someone's really attracted to alien theories, and I'm not saying you are, Cole, but when someone really is attracted to conspiracy theories about aliens, usually there's been a splintering of the psyche. You know, it's some traumatic event which has splintered it a bit. And when someone's really into conspiracy theories about top-down control, you know, bankers running everything, or Jewish businessmen running the whole world secretly, usually it's a father issue. Usually it's a father issue. Because especially when we're young, like in our teens or 20s or early 30s, our ego is so Teflon coated, you know, it's so strong that essentially any internal issues we have, we only see on the outside. The outside world becomes split in a way that we're split internally. And usually for people, it's not until they can get to their mid-30s that they could, you know, they start to consider a possibility that maybe it's not the world that's wrong. It's not the world that's wrong. Of course, there are, you know, but younger people who get into it, and that's to be applauded as well. Great. Already did the crucifix 5 minutes. Well done, man. I'm going to have to stick an 8-minute and a 10-minute one of those up soon. I've been so busy the last few days, I haven't had a chance to continue with them. But the bioenergetic challenge videos will continue. And I'll bring in some of the chair as well, like the hard chair. And the hard chair is one where you lean with your back against the wall. It's a exercise from TRE, also bioenergetics, of course. But you have to have your upper part of your leg absolutely horizontal. It's a motherfucker, basically. Online training would be great. Yes, Timo. Yeah. No, it'd be lovely to get something together, but I have to take my time to really create the product, and I need a bit more kind of downtime, really, to kind of get in that mood for writing and creating and stuff like that. Videos for free. Thanks, man. No worries. I don't mind doing the stuff for free, you know. And then the reality is, just doing stuff for free and being open, you get business off the back of it. You know, you earn money and people buy sessions. They come to workshops. You know, something famous about therapists, you know, is the very good therapists generally are fucking hopeless at marketing and promotion. And most therapists that are good at marketing and promotion are fucking hopeless as therapists. It's a curious phenomena. But I try to straddle both and really spend time being a great therapist and also get out there and put myself out there. That's my thing. What's the thing with the horse stance? Well, the horse stance, ma bo, as they used to call it in Chinese, is like a martial arts position. And it'd be good to practice that. You can even do the arm stretches like the crucifix in ma bo, you know, which means you've got your feet quite wide apart, knees bent, ass down low, basically. That's the basic horse stance. I'm sure you can look it up online. It's a basic position from Chinese martial arts. Is that what say it's releasing? Yeah, over time it's releasing. You know, any stress position in the body that you hold for a while, it starts to ache, and you keep on breathing and feeling is releasing. It's releasing. Cole, to teach them about anything like that. Nice chicks over there. Well, yeah. You're getting off topic, hey Cole. I get people who put all sorts of crazy shit on. Sometimes I just have to ban them or something, you know. It's the usual. There is a certain class of people who, like, I don't know, it's usually young men who find it very exciting to go and be trolls on channels and stuff like that. I don't get so many, but some colleagues of mine in the YouTube scene get quite a lot, you know. And something in the young male psyche where they think it's really a laugh or something, but you know, the reality is you'd be better off getting in your body and being real, you know, just being fucking real, you know, not expecting this mind world to do it for you, because it won't do very much for you in the end of the day, really. That's a shame. You're curious. Yeah. Personality disorders such as narcissistic personality disorder have a kind of split where they create a false self in early childhood as a reaction to trauma. Yeah, it sounds real. That sounds possible. That sounds possible. You know, I at times have been quite narcissistic and self-feeding. You know, like that. In a sense, you know, there's certain traits that can be useful in therapy. You know, to promote yourself, having a bit of narcissism can be useful. If you're teaching bioenergetics, they always used to say that being a bit of a sadist was useful. But I try not to do it like that. I'm often doing it at the same time, often doing it at the same time as participants anyway, to help fill the room as much as is realistic. But, you know, the thing is with this kind of psychiatry thing, you know, is like, it's a bit too rigid and objective, really. And, you know, so many psychiatrists, when you see them, they need to do some fucking bioenergetics, really, you know. I mean, it's just like, it's off the scale, some of their body rigidity and tension, you know, and they've got this huge mind that's good at categorizing things, you know. But, you know, life isn't really like that. Therapy is still in its infancy, really. We started, human-centered therapy started off around the 60s, and it's still, you know, it's still kind of not really accepted very much because science is such a rigid discipline, you know. Anyway, Pietro, what do you suggest for anxiety? The bow and the arch is a great thing for the general anxiety, you know. General anxiety, it's great, you know, because you can just do it slowly starts to shift most of the stuff out of the lower back and the backs of the legs. The backs of the legs, it starts to shift it out over time. You know, if you just breathe and feel into those areas as you're doing it, slowly over time, anxiety goes down. It just goes right down. So it's like, it's great. And then if you've got anxiety about certain things, you know, you can look at more specific kind of ways of dealing with that, from behavioral therapy or whatever, you know, ways to slowly approach what you're anxious about. If you know what you're anxious about, you know, to slowly approach and to start to desensitize yourself. It's it could be longer. Till next time. No worries, Mirza. Cool. Nice you checked in. Pedro, hey, do you know what the 5 Tibetan rites are? If you do, what do you think about them? I do know what they are. They're like 5 exercises that have got this kind of mysterious legend attached to them, which in my opinion is a bit dubious. But it's one of these classic old legends that some old colonel in the army went off to some remote part of northern India or Nepal or Bhutan or somewhere like that, and stumbled across some remote village where people had been detached from the rest of society. And there, this is close to the story anyway, from what I remember 20 years ago. Basically, there, the local people were, I suppose, Tibetans. That's where they must have been somewhere in Tibet. Thinking about it, obviously, they were doing these 5 practices, and they all looked super young, even though they were in their 90s. And then the colonel started doing the 5 practices and lived to be 120 or whatever the legend is. What I think about them is they're okay. I haven't done them myself for at least 15 years, so I can't even remember them. But I don't think they're really is quite what they're cracked up to be. You know, probably it's if you're into it, you know, it's probably a great daily workout. To have a daily workout of some type is great. But for me, what you get with bioenergetics is you get more of a deeper release, you know, and you have this sense of going on a deeper journey inside yourself, you know, not just, you know, just having a daily practice which makes you feel good for a bit, but each time it's going deeper in. And that's what you get from like the bow and the arch, or a lot of these bioenergetic postures. You could do them every day, you know, for 10 years, and each time it goes a little bit deeper, or will come in waves for a bit, you know. And I don't think you'll get that quite so much from the 5 Tibetans. They're more like maintenance exercises. I can't really remember all of them, I must admit. In fact, I can't remember any of them off the top of my head. I used to have that little book. There's this little book for the 5 Tibetans. Anyway, guys, anyone else got a question? You just stick it along there. It's fascinating, all this stuff. An amazing little story, you know, the kind of story when you're a young guy, you think, wow, that's amazing, this colonel and his exercises, you know. But you know, in reality, it's not really like that. A similar myth, you know, was propagated around the idea of a primal scream, you know. It's basically like this guy, Arthur Yanoff, his name was. He wrote a book back in the early 70s, about called The Primal Scream. And then in this book, he's got this young guy who's a client, and one day he's giving him these exercises to do, and one day this huge scream comes out of him, and like everything is released, and the young guy's just totally freed up for life and totally confident, and goes out into the world and has an amazing time. And so this book, kind of created an expectation in people, created a huge expectation in people that they could, they do one or two exercises or one therapy session and everything's going to be clear. And of course, it's just not like that. Good guy, Arthur Yanoff, it was very influential and powerful as a therapist. But nevertheless, that book, like The 5 Tibetans, sets up a quite unrealistic expectation, in my opinion. Anyway. What's a good exercise to deal with hate? Well, you got to understand hate as a mental phenomena is essentially anger that's blocked in its expression. Ideally what you want to do is start to come to workshops, man, and get more in the belly. You can use the belly kind of work, but I don't really teach emotional expression work online. One, because it's not easy to teach online, the real screaming and shouting stuff. It needs to be held by someone who knows what they're doing. And you need human contact afterwards to kind of heal. You can't just do a load of screaming, get a bit of release and just be there. It's not really very healthy for people. So it's the kind of thing you can only really do more one-to-one or in a group in person, But you can work with hate, You can also work, with something like cognitive behavioral therapy, understanding some of the thought patterns that lead to it, working with the mental aspects of it. But I work more with the bodily aspects. So in the group where I'm going to get, really releasing and putting it out, because people don't want to, initially. And it's like when you can really access that energy, anger can be a very, very transformative tool, incredibly transformative tool, really powerful, powerful thing to get your belly open, to get your throat open. So you really feel like, hey, I'm a man, I'm on this earth. I've got a fucking right to be me, Anger's a very, very powerful opening tool. But it's not something you can really work with online so easily, to be honest, not with a kind of direct expression route. You can also use, like I say, stuff like the triple opener to try and get more energy in the belly. Nick, which character are you in the novel Ashram? I'm not any of the characters. But some of them were drawn. Someone who's read my novel. Some of them were drawn from kind of composites of people that I met in my 15 years living in spiritual community, and the kind of stereotypical people that come along. How long did you practice bioenergetics before teaching it? You're an actual teacher. I guess I was doing it a bit when I was doing group therapy. There was elements of bioenergetics in there, back in the Humaniversity days in the early 2000s, we do a lot of bioenergetics. I used to fucking hate it. It was a very pretty woman that taught it, but I fucking hated the practice. But at some point I could see it was doing me good. There's some other kind of friends of mine who were going through therapist training. They got into bioenergetics and teaching it. And I didn't get into it till about 4 or 5 years ago. But when I get into something, I really get into it. So then I started to get in there and try and dominate the scene a bit. It's got to be done. Have you ever taken antidepressants? No. I've never had much trouble with depression, to be honest. My energy is quite high. I'm more on the anxiety axis, I mean, if you get up in the morning and do some cold training and bioenergetics, it's extremely difficult to get depressed. It's just not very easy. If you understand depression from a body-based therapy perspective rather than a psychotherapeutic or neurological perspective, if you can get certain areas of your body energetically moving, you're not really going to get depressed. Depression essentially is a survival strategy that's adopted to stop, through fear, basically, just to stop the volatility of emotionality. Invariably, when I work with people, that's a big element of it. And bioenergetics and expression workshops are awesome for depression, but it's not always easy to treat. It's not always easy. And of course, there's seasonal components and stuff like that, But I've never taken antidepressants. In the UK, they have citalopram. And I take, you have to be careful with people on medication coming to workshops. So I usually, if a workshop's quite intense, I usually screen. But, you know, low-level dosage, citalopram, standard dose is 20 mgs a day, you know, is generally okay, depending on the person's affect a little bit and stuff like that. So, you know, I do work with people who are on antidepressants, as long as it's generally the SSRI type and stuff like that. The heavier kind of antidepressants, tricyclics, tetracyclics, you have to be a bit more careful with, because you're doing practices which bring up feelings, and if a drug is suppressing feelings, it can create unhealthy reactions. You know? Could you find a video about the triple opener on your channel? Could I find? Yeah, just look up triple opener. You have to spell it with L-E at the end, because that's the English spelling, and 1 P, Triple. You look that up and look up the belly activation. Belly activation. I'm planning to do some more belly stuff in the next couple of months, because I've been developing that work a bit. It's kind of my signature stuff, so to speak, in that you know, it's like the thing I'm getting a bit more known for. And some of these challenge exercises I'm going to be bringing out more, you know, because I have a lot of young guys on my channel, and you know, they like a good challenge. And then the challenge with these exercises is to really breathe while you're doing it, you know. But they give you a rush when you complete it and you go through the barrier. There's nothing like, you know, I've been listening to David Coggins a lot recently, you know, the ex-Navy SEAL guy, and he's got some very interesting opinions on pain, you know. I mean, some of them are quite extreme, the stuff that he's been through, you know, pretty fucking extreme. If you've read Can't Hurt Me, I've got it on audiobook, I've been listening to it. But, you know, these challenge exercises give you away quite quickly. You know, you do the chair position, you're in pain in about 20 seconds, if you're lucky, you know, and that kind of stuff. But, you know, then you can get quickly into the pain. You don't have to go and run 10 miles or something like that. And then you can quickly see if you can breathe your way through it. Because when you can be in quite strong pain and breathe your way through it and come out the other side, it's an amazing experience. You know, it's really, you feel like, fucking hell, I've gone through something, and you get a huge endorphin rush and you really clear something in you. So I'm interested in pain at the minute. It's interesting stuff. Of course, it's, you know, not easy to work with, because who wants to be in pain? Do you practice cold showers? Yes, daily. Have you ever tried mushrooms? Yes. I used to take them I think Monday night was mushroom night when I was about 24. Me and my mate, Mark, used to cane the mushrooms and go around the pubs and stuff. They grew a lot in Essex, in one field in Essex where I was brought up. Dun, 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 dun. Got it. How did you get yourself to start your own practice? You just start it. You just start it. Simple as that. You know, there's a lot of books on therapeutic techniques for the mind, on how to do things. You don't need any of those things. You need the Nike logo with "Just Do It" underneath. I've taken the "Just Do It" out a bit these days, but that's the bottom line. Just do it. If you sit around asking your mind 14 questions all the fucking time about whether you should do something, chances are you never do it. You have to practice 1, 2, 3, go. You know, lying in bed, should I get up and do exercise? No, just lie a little bit longer. At some point, you have to say, no, I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to get up. 1, 2, 3, go. That's it, you know. That's the bottom line. Thanks, Devin. Also, do you think I would benefit more with bioenergetics if I stopped smoking weed at all, or occasionally smoking doesn't affect too much in practices? I mean, it's good to stop smoking weed, basically, because on some level, whilst you do get some level of body opening with it, it's also quite a strong way of suppressing feelings, you know. But I'm very pragmatic with these things. If you can cut down a bit, that's good. You know, if you can cut down. When I was growing up in the 80s and 70s and 80s, everyone thought weed was just fucking awesome and the most best thing for everything. And we have discovered now that it's not really. You know, I used to smoke fucking tons of it as well, you know. But, you know, it isn't, basically. I don't think it does permanent harm to most people or something like that. But nevertheless, being free from tobacco and stuff like that, and free from well, smoking tobacco and weed is a good idea, in my opinion, you know, if you really want to start to face yourself. But like I'm saying, I'm pragmatic, so cutting down can be good, you know, and not. Sometimes people try to get off things too quickly, step off too quick, and then they come back in, they feel guilty, and so then they do more because they get stuck in the guilt cycle, you know. So you've got to be careful. You've got to know your own mind and your own addictions a bit. Ever want to go to Peru and do ayahuasca? No, not especially, because I've done ayahuasca a bit in the UK anyway. So, you know, and I think with most of these substances, they're very limited in what they really do, actually. You know, I've had some pretty fucking strong experiences on ayahuasca, to be honest. You know, I'm quite sensitive to tryptamines. But also, I get a lot of ayahuasca people coming to my groups. they're not in their fucking bodies, really. God's spiritual mind story number 47. And they're not present in their body. They're not present. It's a huge deal. I was into ibogaine for a while, which is another very powerful shamanic drug, and that is more body centered. It doesn't take you so far out. The main thing you can get from ayahuasca is a kind of message that you need to do some fucking bioenergetics. If you ask me, and I'm not against it. Do I drink alcohol? Yes, I do. Not so much these days. I used to cane it like a motherfucker back in my 20s, but not so much anymore. Good night, cheers. I asked that question because truth is most people in recovery field have never committed to own organic practice and developing. Yeah, it's, you see, what people think it's to do with the trauma, or they think it's to do with the shit that happened to them as a kid, their parents, their body, whether they look good or not. But change does not really depend on that. Change depends on whether you can commit to something and whether you can take your own resistance on. They're the main elements. Bottom line is, do you really fucking want it? Because you can be the worst out and out fucking junkie that was ever born, and you can become the most amazing, powerful, wealthy, incredible human being if you fucking want it. If you fucking want it, you can get it. It comes down to that. Thanks. How do you deal with toxic people? Well, you avoid them after a while. You avoid them. You can always ban them on YouTube. You've got all the power. When you're doing a live stream, you can just click this little button. What does it say over here? Hide user on this channel. Put user on timeout. Remove. Oh, let's remove the comment. Whatever. It's kind of funny. But I haven't actually had to do it yet. I've had a few. When I used to do it on my phone, every now and again I get trolls. I try and ban them, but you can't. On the YouTube phone app, you can't ban them. Anyway, guys, I've got about another minute, and then I'm going to go because I'm pretty live streamed out today. I've already done a 1 hour, 10-minute one on my crypto channel. So, but how do you deal with toxic people? Yeah, you can. You just, often when people come to therapy, they realize after about 4 or 5 groups that in their life they've got loads of toxic people around them, and you have to, at some point, you have to leave them. It can be tough. If your family is like toxic and always trying to control you and get you to do what they want you to do, at some point you may have to walk away, and then come back when you feel strong enough to not be swayed by their bullshit. That's the reality. You are the most important. You are the most important. It's you that your life is happening to, and you are the one that has to take charge of it. It's as simple as that. We got a religious one here. Do I believe in Holy Quran, Allah, and the Prophet Muhammad? You see, belief systems are for the weak, basically, for the weak. The strong are in their bodies, and they take action. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying you have to be strong. I'm not saying you have to be strong. And I'm half Iranian, so I'm from a racial background, and I like Arab culture a lot, even though we're not Arabs and stuff technically. And I can even speak a bit of Darija and stuff like that. But I don't believe in these things because I don't need to believe in these things. I don't need to believe in God. It doesn't do anything for me. I can feel my belly. Anyone who can really feel their belly doesn't need to believe in God. Basically, there's no need. You just wouldn't bother. You just wouldn't bother. You open up your belly center a bit. You don't need it. Open up your heart center a bit as well. You certainly don't need it. You won't need any God. It's like, you don't have to start fights with the religious people and stuff like that. But, they're just trapped in that. They're just trapped in that, When you come into your power more and into your own center of your individuality, you don't need any religions, You just don't need any religions, Simple as that. And I've nothing against it, Bismillah, Rahman, Rahim, and all of this, I quite like being in Arab countries because of the the muezzin and the ahan, every adhan, but coming out all the time, 5 times a day, it puts you in this kind of semi-spiritual state. I enjoy it, and like I say, I'm racially partly from that area, but I'm not going to buy into religion. You don't really need it. Yeah, it's true. Anyone who can really feel their belly doesn't need it. Doesn't need it. Anyway, guys, I've got to go. Oh, what's your crypto channel? Crypto Passive Income with Devaraj. It's been quite successful recently on the back of one thing I've been commentating on. You know, it's a bit crazier than this, but I'm really a therapist. You know, that's a side thing for me that I got interested in. I mean, doing all the belly work as well gets you interested in trading. You know, get interested in trading stuff and what's going on. Okay, guys, lovely to see you all, and keep practicing the bio. That's the bottom line, you know. Don't believe too much of your mind's comfort-addicted mind bullshit. Don't believe in that stuff, you know. Get up and just do it. Get up and just do it. Simple as that. And then you get strong, and then you become the boss. And that's how it is. You can do it. Don't forget that. Cheers, guys. See you next week. Over and out.